Record. Okay,
I
start.
think it has started now. Yes. So this
All
is the outline of my talk and discussion. I'm going to start with the components of course specification, and I will mainly focus on what can be considered as the brain and heart of a course specification. Second point will be about what learning outcomes are, how we can define them, why we should have learning outcomes at the course level, and where they usually come from. And then I'll focus on Nqf for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Next point will be on how we can develop course learning outcomes, or the main features of course learning outcomes. Then examples and samples, and the last point will be a sample recommendation by the review panel. Okay. So as the first point, as I mentioned, is about an overview of the structure of course specification. As you can see, these are the major components in the structure of a course specification. The first one is course identification, the general information about the course, the objectives and learning outcomes. And under objectives and learning outcomes, we have course description, course main objective, and course learning outcomes. I have marked this in green because this is the focus of my discussion with you tonight. Then course content, teaching and assessment, student academic counseling and support, learning resources and facilities, course quality evaluation, and specification approval date. So as you can see here from the structure, the major, or what I mentioned in the beginning as the brain and the heart of the course specification is the course learning outcomes, around which we can say that other elements or other components of a course specification work together to fulfill or to achieve these outcomes. So starting with the definition of course learning outcomes or learning outcomes in general, they are statements that specify what students will know, will be able to, and also will be able to demonstrate professionally. And these are, you can say, the outcomes. They are in three domains: knowledge, skills, and the third one is VAUT and responsibility. I have called it VAR, V for values, A for autonomy, and R for responsibility, which is different from video assistant referee. So these three domains are expected when the students have successfully completed or participated in a learning experience. This learning experience could be a whole course, could be a program, it could be a lecture, it could be even an office hour. It could be so. So different learning experiences are there. Okay. So moving to the next point in the discussion. So this is the definition. And by the way, this is one of the definitions, and you will find a lot of definitions there. And we will come to know why we have different versions of these domains, especially in NCAA. We have seen a lot of changes since we started working on quality. And this shows, you can say, the dynamic changes in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in general and specifically in education. So for knowledge, I think this is something almost, you can say, fixed. Skills, they are also changing to some extent. But it seems that why we have the new version in the Nqf that focuses on the third domain, which is the values, autonomy, and responsibility. This aligns with the Vision 2030 and in its educational aspect, where the focus should be on preparing our students in the university for the labor market. So this is I think you can say this is the unique addition here, and why we should give it careful attention. So this is the definition of course learning outcomes, or learning outcomes in general. So they are statements, but we have to be careful when we phrase those statements, because as I mentioned, these statements, they are a kind of a translation of the expectations of the Ministry of Education, whether we are talking about the program level or course level. So we have to be careful while framing and writing those course learning outcomes or program learning outcomes. So why do we have learning outcomes? What is the importance of these domains? I can say that the major goal of having course learning outcomes is to help us as educators or educationists or university teachers and instructors and professors. They help us to move our education, or the education that we give to our students, from the knowledge level to beyond memorization and just knowledge. So this is the importance, the overall. You can say it's like a supporter, or it's a support to us to move from teacher-centered education to student-centered education. And you know, we are now in the 21st century, and the requirements of the new century dictate that we have to change our philosophy of teaching, and we have to make it basically student-oriented rather than teacher-focused. So these are some of the points which can help us understand why learning outcomes are very important. The first point is increased student awareness of the students' own learning. So when we meet our students for the first time in the lecture, the first day we meet them, and we start explaining to them the expectations that we have, what they are expected to gain as knowledge, skills, and values, autonomy, and responsibility, we are helping them to increase their awareness of their own learning. So we just make them aware of this huge responsibility, that it's not only our own, but also it's their own. And we have to make it clear the limitations of the task, which is at the end a shared task between us and them. The second one is frameworks for course design and redesign. On what basis we design our courses? On the basis of the outcomes. Redesigning courses, again, it is dictated or guided by course learning outcomes. So we cannot think of any course designing or redesigning without considering learning outcomes as you can say the major motivator behind this. A method for program planning. So it's not only at the course level, but also at the level of the program. So if we want to plan the program, that is improve the program, measure the outcomes of the program, we have to go to the course learning outcomes. It's a map, or they are a map for curricular assessment and change. So how can we assess our curriculum and change it and improve it unless we go first to the course learning outcomes? They show larger units within the institution, how the parts relate to the whole. We are not in an isolated island working together, working alone, each course or each course instructor working individually. No, it's like a jigsaw. We are all, you can say, contributors to the whole educational institution, and each one of us is playing a role at his end or her end, trying to contribute to the whole institution. So showing through the course learning outcomes how parts relate to the whole. So when we write course learning outcomes, we don't do that haphazardly. We have to look at the program learning outcomes. And when program learning outcomes are framed, we have to look at the college mission or the department mission first, then the college mission, the university mission, so that we can see a kind of consistency, you can say, in the whole institution, and then different institutions working together to realize the overall government or country goals and expectations. Course learning outcomes improve academic advising as well. On what basis we can give academic advising to our students? On the basis of to what extent they have realized these learning outcomes. So we can develop our plans for academic advising based on the course learning outcomes. So academic advisors should be fully aware of those course learning outcomes and program learning outcomes and develop their planning improvement of the program on the basis of the course and program learning outcomes. And the last and not the least, which is very important, is that when we look at course learning outcomes, work on them, develop them properly, improve them, assess them, close the quality loop, this is considered as a piece of evidence for accreditation. So the reviewers, when they look at the program, at the courses, they search for, they basically focus on learning outcomes, because they consider what we are doing with these learning outcomes. Are they just, is it just a kind of discourse, or it is a culture? So and they see the course of action with course learning outcomes, and they consider this as a kind of evidence for accreditation. So this is the point of why course learning outcomes are important. Next point is that where do outcomes come from? This point again is very important. Simply the course learning outcomes are guided by the national qualification framework. And every country has its own national qualification framework, especially those countries which work for the improvement of their education. They develop such frames in order to achieve consistency and improvement in all educational institutions. So what is NQF? It is a national qualification framework. And as you can see here in the definition of the document in the NQF, it says that it's an organizational structure which is used to place, to design, to develop, to recognize qualifications in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So see what we are doing when we work on course learning outcomes. We are contributing to the recognition of our qualification, that is BA. So each one of us working on the course learning outcomes properly, we are at the end contributing to the recognition of our programs, because this is why we have an NQF for this overall major purpose at the end. The NQF in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia acts as a key nexus. This is a very important point. A key nexus that reinforces and consolidates relationship between education and training on the one hand, and the practical and realistic requirements of the labor market on the other hand. So we have NQF to create this kind of connection between what we do in our educational institutions, university, okay, and what is going, and also the labor market. So this kind of connection has to be maintained, has to be improved, has to be enhanced, and this can only be done with the help of following the requirements of this NQF. Briefly, these are the framework levels, and I think you have all seen this chart somewhere. It is in the beginning of the in the early pages of the NQF. They show the levels. Our level, as you can see, specifically the undergrad level, is number 6. And each level has its own descriptors. Number 6 is bachelor's degree. Number 7 is master's. And then we have number 8 is the doctorate degree or equivalent. I'm not going to focus on other levels. Our focus is on level number 6. And the learning domains are the same, I mean, in terms of headings, but the content is different and sometimes slightly different, which requires critical, careful reading in order to be able to see the differences between learning domains in different levels. So the learning domains are knowledge and understanding, skills, values, autonomy, and responsibility. And according to the NQF, by knowledge and understanding that we should give our students or help our students gain, this is the knowledge and understanding of a learner in the areas of learning, in the areas of work or profession. So see the connection between learning, university, and labor market. Skills, what a graduate can do in the field. Value, autonomy, and responsibility, principles and standards that are oriented towards success in the areas of life. So this third one, as I mentioned earlier, is very crucial because it creates the connection between university and labor market. And others do as well, but this is very important. So if we look closely at each domain, what is meant by knowledge? It means extensive, deep knowledge, understanding of facts. So whenever we talk about facts, concepts, principles, theories, processes, procedures, so this comes under the knowledge part. They provide for that, we provide for in the area of learning, work, and profession as well. We have to look at the choice of words also, like depth of knowledge, whether this knowledge is general or specialized. Also breadth of knowledge. It could be from, it might range from a single topic to a multidisciplinary area of knowledge. So broad knowledge is also a focus. Kinds of knowledge, which range from concrete to abstract, segmented to cumulative, and complexity of knowledge, again, which refers to a combination of kinds, that is different kinds of knowledge, breadth of knowledge, and depth of knowledge, especially when we talk about interdisciplinary fields. So we should think of those concepts when we write the course learning outcomes. They might seem quite complicated, but we have to think of knowledge in its broad sense. Okay, we focus first on facts, concepts, principles, theories, and processes, and we think of the depth, the breadth, and the kinds of knowledge and the complexity of knowledge as well when we write course learning outcomes or program learning outcomes. Then when we talk about skills, skills are of different types, as you can see here, according to the NQF. We have cognitive skills, we have practical and physical skills, and communication and IT skills. I think we don't need all of them when we write our course learning outcomes. We may not need all of them, even at the level of program learning outcomes. Let's focus on cognitive skills. Let's focus on communication skills. I think this is our concern in the Department of English, in the English program, and also other programs in our college. Cognitive, what is meant by cognitive skills? It is the application of knowledge. The first domain was the different types of knowledge that we get from theories, from concepts, from procedures. But here, let's apply the knowledge that we have gained from those theories, or help the students apply them. How can they do that? Through the use of critical thinking. We have to train our students in different courses in the abilities, in their skills to infer, to apply, to analyze, to synthesize, to evaluate the information they have. So they can infer information, they can apply theories, they should analyze what they have, they should synthesize the different pieces of knowledge, and they should also evaluate the type of information they gain from those theories while applying them. Also, problem solving, inquiry, creativity, all these come under cognitive skills. We might see some kind of overlapping, especially between this one and maybe when we come to talk about values later. Practical and physical skills, these are motor skills, and mostly these are skills associated with fields like engineering, medical, and so on. Communication, I think this is our basic concern. We have to focus when we talk about skills in courses on how we can help the students gain those competencies of written, verbal, non-verbal communication, Numerical skills, this might be there in a course like research methods. Production of information, also when students try to write some research or infer findings based on research, simple research tasks. So they are producing information and producing knowledge. So these are cognitive skills. Talking about values, and here I'm emphasizing this. Please, when you write the course learning outcomes for values, don't think of values only. And I think it was a mistake by the NCAA to write values only in the, maybe it was inadvertent, to write only V in the course specification or program specification documents as well. It was written V only. And I would recommend that here it should be VAR rather than V only. Why? Because when we write the course learning outcomes at this domain, we should think of values, we should think of autonomy, we should think of responsibility, because these are three different things. When we write the course learning outcomes at this level or at this domain, we just think of values. But the NQF has made it clear to us that we have these three together. Look at the details: academic and professional values and ethics. And these are examples of some of the academic and professional values and ethics that we should try to instill in our students. Quest for knowledge and truth. Can we do that to our students? Can we help our students develop this value of quest for knowledge? How can we do that? This requires our creative, critical thinking and doing a lot of thinking to reach certain tools to help our students do that. Help our students to gain the trust of what they read, the trust of their teachers, the trust of the knowledge they learn, to be fair, to appreciate others, teachers, the knowledge they get, to be modest, to be respectful, to be punctual, to have a sense of gratitude, maturity also when they discuss. So these are values. So this is the first one. And then for the second one, continued self-learning and autonomy. This comes under autonomy. Let's help our students set learning goals. I'm teaching a certain course, for example, writing or speaking or linguistics or whatsoever. So I should instill or help or add to my teaching this tool of helping our students to set their own learning goals. This might be in the end of the semester, in the beginning of the semester. And then in the middle of the semester, we might ask them to evaluate or to check their progress. And then at the end, we can ask them to check or to evaluate their own learning. Okay, and we can help them do so. And we might use different tools to, once a student, for example, sets certain learning goals for themselves in that specific course and provide you with this list of goals, this is great. And you can evaluate your students' autonomy based on setting their own goals, on self-directed engagement in learning, not just to depend on the teacher in spoon feeding them. This is what we are usually doing. We should not do this. We have to try to help our students to be self-directed in the learning. Teamwork and responsibilities, this is the third one, comes under values, autonomy and responsibility. Let's help our students come out with joint decision making, like let's say in group discussion or pair discussion, collaboration, self-management, effective listening, empathy, creativity, time management, participate actively in advancing the course and the community. So once we make the students think of how they can contribute to developing a course, we just ask the students to evaluate the course at the end of the semester in order to get their marks. So this kind of connection between the marks and the evaluation of the course, I think this should not only happen by the end of the semester. We may also ask our students while teaching to provide their feedback about the course during the semester, in the middle of the semester, towards the end. We should not only wait until they get that survey at the end. So if we get their feedback before they reach that point, I think we have developed in in our students the sense of responsibility. So these are values, autonomy, and yes, values, autonomy, and responsibility. At level 6, at the level of bachelor degree, these are some of the important vocabulary that we might use: broad, in-depth, integrated body of knowledge, in-depth knowledge, broad range of specialized knowledge, knowledge and comprehension. See, for example, the last one, when it says knowledge and comprehension of research and inquiry methodologies. This is, I think, connected with the research course. But it says knowledge and comprehension without using an adjective before it, because I think this is quite clear and practical, and also relevant to what we are doing. We don't expect much from our students at this such a course, so we have the course without some adjectives. But in the previous one, when we talk, for example, about knowledge of concepts and terminologies in phonology, in phonetics, in morphology, we might use broad range of specialized knowledge and understanding, in-depth knowledge and comprehension, and so on. So depending on the level, we can choose the proper adjectives or modifiers. So at the level of skills, we can talk about applying theories, solving problems, using critical thinking. I have already talked about this. Values, I don't have to repeat myself here. I have, I think, said enough about this. So now moving to the next point in the presentation, which is how we can develop our course learning outcomes. So effective learning outcomes should be student-centered. That is phrased from the perspective of the student. And we'll see some examples later. And I will need also from you sharing your feedback on evaluation of some outcomes. So this is one important attribute of course learning outcomes. They should be phrased from the perspective of the student. They should be measurable, that it can be measured, quantified, either directly or indirectly. They should be written in a way that helps us evaluate whether or measure whether learning has taken place or not. They should be concise, written in short, succinct sentences. Meaningful, and what is meant by meaningful? As I said, when we write them, we should think of the context, whether it is a course context or a program context. So they should emphasize higher order thinking and are consistent with the university, college, department, and program learning outcomes. So we should think of the university, of the program, of the community, of the society, okay, of the course itself, how this outcome is contributing to the course. Achievable, reasonable for this population of students, neither above nor below the level of the student, and is achievable within the time available as well. We have seen, for example, that in some cases, we start by choosing the book for a course, and then we start writing our learning outcomes on the basis of, we are dictated by the book. And I think this is not the proper practice. We should first develop the outcomes for the course, then we should select the proper book or books that will be suitable for our courses. Outcome-based, as I said earlier, it should be student-centered. If we want our students to be able to achieve something tangible at the end, the outcome should be outcome-based, as we said, should be related to any one of the domains that we have mentioned: knowledge, skills, or value, autonomy, and responsibility. Then, yeah, coming to some examples here, and I need your comments, please. What do you think? I just want you to read the first one, and I'm expecting you to please tell me which one. If we look at the first row, we have two outcomes. Good and poor, forget about that, what is written there. But which one do you think of these is a good learning outcome? Which one do you think is a poor one? The first one says, learn how to effectively communicate in both oral and written forms. The second one says, demonstrate the ability to communicate in English effectively in both oral and written forms. So this might be a course learning outcome or a program learning outcome. Whether it is the first or the second, let's focus on how it is written. I just want to know from you, anyone who would like to contribute here, please. which one do you think is a good one? Which one is a poor learning outcome, and the reason? Let's make it quite interactive and hear from you. And who is willing to contribute? You are welcome, please. And I may just get 1 or 2 answers.
Well, if you allow me.
Tafadhal, Brother Adil. Yes.
Yes. I think describe and explain these two verbs I like, actually. They're measurable. And in the right column, the first one is quite okay, but I like the second one best. Describe and explain significant trends and movements in English literature. That's what I think, because they have action.
Oh, you mean you are talking about the second learning outcome in this slide?
Exactly. Describe and explain.
Yes. Why?
Is a difficult question, by the way.
No, if you look
anyway,
at the
I can
one
try.
on the right,
I can try.
And you can Brother Adil, you can go to the, let's use those attributes that we have mentioned here. Student-centered, measurable, concise, meaningful,
student-centered. Yes, it's student-centered. Yes, because it shows that the students' ability to describe something, the trends, and they have to be able to, they can explain at the end of the course. So describe is quite measurable, and it's all according to Bloom's taxonomy, as I believe. That's why I think it's the best. It's the best.
Thank you, brother. And usually the verb understand is quite vague, but in what terms they translate their understanding, we have to be clear and more specific. Using action verbs usually help a lot. And when we say action verbs, this can be a cognitive action verb or a practical action verb. Thank you, Adil. And I think for the first pair of outcomes, I think it might be clear that the second one is the one demonstrate the ability to communicate in English effectively. And I think this might work at the program level rather than at the course level, but it's better than just learn how to effectively communicating. So learn how to effectively, I think this is again not a proper choice of the verb, and it doesn't help in measuring this outcome. Okay, now let's be more specific and more practical. I have selected a number of outcomes from the most recent course specifications, and I need your comment on these, and let's think of how we can improve them. And also I want you to guess the course these outcomes have been taken from. Let's look at the first one. It's from a level 8 course. It says, examine the different methods of teaching. Your comment on this outcome, please. Dr. Munassar, you might, if you want, please, and I will be happy if you can manage the,
no problem.
Participant, please. Yes, yeah, we can just have one answer for each one.
Okay, let me answer the first one. Examine the different methods of teaching.
Yes.
That would be applied linguistic too, maybe. And to examine the teaching methods, I think it doesn't match with the purpose of it. So students need to understand the teaching methods or apply the teaching methods, but not to examine the teaching methods.
Yeah. In what sense the students are going to examine? The students don't examine. As you said, they can apply, they can explain, they can, but to examine, a quite vague verb. For the second one, identify, organize, write, and evaluate expository argument essay. So this is from level 4. I think this is a course. It's very clear that since we have an essay at the end, this is a writing 4 course. What's wrong with this outcome? Who can help?
I think it's in the wrong domain.
Yeah. Thank you, Hassan, for notifying me this. Yeah, it is K. Yeah, I just forgot to tell you what we have at the right. This is the domain K, which is knowledge. And yes, Hassan, you are right. This is one problem that it's rather mixed. What do you think, Hassan? You have identify, you have organize, you have write, you have evaluate. So how many verbs do we have here? And do they only fit, as Hassan mentioned, the knowledge level? So yes, what Hassan has mentioned is absolutely correct. And the other problem with this is how are we going to measure this outcome with these different verbs? So this is another problem. Then for the third one, use specialized Islamic paper and electronic dictionaries. This is again from a course in level 8. You know why I have chosen to bring those examples here? Because I think maybe when we write the course the new course specifications, we might repeat the same thing since we have already those there. So please look at them carefully and critically. And I think Hassan has already notified us earlier that we have to look carefully at the course specifications when we write them again for the new courses. So for this course, who can guess which course is this and what the problem is with this course learning outcome? And it is at the skill level.
Translation 3, potentially. And you can't measure use.
Yes. Thank you, Hassan. And also, do you think this is a clear statement, a clear outcome when it says use specialized Islamic paper? Unless you might have gone through the course specification of this course, it might be difficult for you to put this this outcome in a proper course. So they have to be very clear, very specific. And for the next one, communicate effectively and appropriately by synthesizing their knowledge of English speech sounds. Any comment on this? And this comes under values, and it is from a level 6 course. It seems to be phonology or phonetics.
Yes, doctor.
Yes, please, doctor.
Yeah, doctor, I think it's taken from phonology course. And I think this outcome should be under skills domain.
Okay, under skills domain. Thank you, Dr. Fadi. And what about if we look at the semantics of this statement? Communicate effectively, appropriately. How we can achieve this? By synthesizing their knowledge of English speech sounds. So it might be quite difficult to connect these two parts of the statement. How can synthesizing the knowledge of English speech sounds lead the students to communicate effectively and appropriately? Unless we are talking at the, you can say at the pronunciation level, let's say.
Maybe they went on a long stretch here and tried to talk about intonation and how intonation is a value of communicating appropriately, but it's a very long stretch.
Yeah.
For value.
Yeah. So I think we don't agree with with me, Hassan, and with Fadi, that this may not go here under values.
No, this isn't a value, but I'm just saying that they try to word it as a value.
Okay, thank you. For the next one, number 4, 4th level, students should gain adequate knowledge of advanced English grammar, such as listing different types of noun clauses, adverb clauses, and real conditions. Should gain adequate knowledge of advanced. So what do you think? What's the problem with this course learning outcome from grammar 4? It's very clear that this is grammar 4. Who can comment on this, please?
You should not use the word should.
So
the learning outcomes like to, and then you start with the verb.
Yes, an action verb. Yes.
Action verb.
For example, Dr. Munassar, let's delete the first line and focus on list different types of noun clause. Here, I think is an action verb, which might make it a better learning outcome. Okay, for this next one, it is at level 7, applied linguistics. Reflect critically on different theories of first and second language acquisition. And this is at the level of values.
Yes, doctor.
Yes, Fadal, Dr. Fahd.
Doctor, I think this outcome should be under knowledge domain, maybe.
Okay.
Yes,
it could be knowledge.
Because of the verb, doctor, here to reflect.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
And we are talking about theories as well. So I think it should be under knowledge domain.
Yeah, rather than a value. Yeah,
but
exactly.
At the same time, could this be evaluate one's learning?
You mean, Hassan, to improve the statement, we can use evaluate one's learning? Is that what you said?
Well,
can you
reflect critically could be evaluation of one's learning.
Okay.
I mean,
yeah, but you
it's
are
a stretch.
Hassan,
it's a stretch.
Yeah,
right.
You are correct here, but there is no reference to the. I mean, there is no personal reference. I mean, if we use it in the or reframe it in the way you suggested, then it will fit for sure.
Okay, so in values, we want to have a personal reference then.
Yeah, better for, I mean, how this course is helping, for example, the students in their self-directed learning, let's say, or
Okay.
yeah, taking the course beyond the university to the workplace. Okay, thank you. Then some other examples. And number 4, students should be fully aware of the peculiarities and subtleties of English grammar, mainly those encountered in TOEFL and similar tests. What's wrong with this outcome? I hope that all our colleagues contribute to this discussion. And I wish that everyone, or I mean, those whom we have not heard so far, and Dr. Munassar might, I mean, manage this, please. If you don't mind, can you?
No problem. I'm engaged in reading these outcomes, so it's very interesting.
Okay.
Sometimes we don't realize, and these are authentic examples from
exactly.
So
yeah.
And you see now we read them and we could see that, you know, the gaps in the current learning outcomes. So
right. So
that's
students should be fully aware of the peculiarities and subtleties of English grammar. So should
some
be
colleagues
fully...
say it's not measurable, and some say it's vague learning outcomes in the chat box. So.
That's right. Yeah, we should always start with a verb and a measurable verb. But should be fully aware. It is just like an objective rather than an outcome. Then level 1, demonstrate knowledge of English that enables them to listen to and understand a variety of topics that are related to daily situations.
Listening 1, I think. Yes, I can perhaps paraphrase that one, if you allow me.
Yes, please, Brother Adam.
Yes, identify. Instead of the phrase, a long part here, from demonstrate to understand, I can replace that one with identify.
Okay.
Identify a variety of topics that are related to daily situations. What do you think?
Okay, yes, that's fine.
I have made it shorter.
Yeah,
yes,
and
with an action verb.
To the point with an action verb. Thank you. Next one, practice responsibility in personal and professional relationships. And this is from a skill domain. This is introduction to linguistics. Practice responsibility. Yes, Dr. Farid, تفضل.
Doctor, please, I just want to comment on the one before.
Yeah, the listening one. Yes, تفضل.
Yes, demonstrate. But Doctor, I think this verb is also an action verb, right?
It is.
So it's measurable.
It is. Yes, it's measurable.
So can we keep it as it is, or what? Yani,
no, but
I'm just asking, Doctor. That's
we can keep it. But when you say demonstrate knowledge of English, it seems that the wording is quite vague. When we say demonstrate knowledge of English that enables them to listen to...
Here, I think it's repetition, Dr. Abdul Wahid. Demonstrate knowledge of English that enables them. We should delete this one and start from here. Students will be able to listen and understand a variety of topics that are related to a daily situation. So this is the real learning outcomes of this one. Here, demonstrate knowledge of English that enables them to...
Yeah, there could be some tautology there. Yeah, and unnecessary wording.
So we should be deleted, and the learning outcome should start from here.
Yes.
Students should be able to, and then
listen.
That's at the top will be. Usually when we write this, students will, at the end of the course, student will be able to, and then you list the learning outcomes. So this will be like listen to and understand a variety of topics that are related to a daily situation. Yeah. And also the number 4, the one before said students should be fully aware. So just imagine this phrase always in your mind when you write the learning outcomes. At the end of the course, students will be able to and then you listed the learning outcomes.
And then
if you put it this way, students should be fully, then that's a repetition of what you have mentioned previously at the top of the table.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Munassar. For the introduction to linguistics, practice responsibility in personal and professional relationships under skill domain.
I don't know how this related to introduction to linguistics.
Yes, it has nothing to do with Introduction to Linguistics, because it's a very generic statement and it might go to values, but it has again to be associated with and connected with Introduction to Linguistics. So we should try to avoid such generic statements. As I mentioned earlier, one of the attributes of the and qualities of the learning outcomes, they have to be meaningful. That is, think of the context. Then for the next one, IPTS, I think this is for the international tests. Is that, am I right? For level 8? Preparation, is it international? What is the title of this course?
International Preparation Test.
Okay, yes. So explain the main ideas in various types of information. This is one. The second, compare and contrast implications and solutions. This is at the level of knowledge. This is fine, but it seems that these outcomes are quite vague. When you say explain the main ideas in various types of information, I don't know whether this is easy to understand for anyone who reads the outcomes of this course, or they might need to be rephrased to be more specific. This is what I suggest here. For the next one, we have students can work effectively in person, in groups, in carrying out projects under guidance or autonomy. And see, this is a value, and this comes from G1, and I think this is grammar level 1. What do you think?
Yes, doctor, I think the problem here is with the verb, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have to have an action verb.
Okay. What else, Dr. Fadi? What do you think because, here of the yeah, this is fine. What you have said is the verb. We should have a very clear action verb. But when you look at carrying out projects under guidance or autonomously, what kind of projects under guidance and autonomously do we expect, or shall we expect, at a level 1 course, which is called grammar, where we teach the students verb to be and verb to have? So unless we think of certain tasks, so I mean, we have certain wording here which might not suit the level of the course. Then in next course, we have collecting information by using critical thinking, and this is at the skill level. And this is a reading 1 course. Again, it seems that it's the same problem. So first, the choice of the verb. The second is it's quite vague. What kind of what information? What collecting information here by using critical thinking? Be specific, be meaningful, be clear. Then next one, I think maybe this is the last slide in this in discussing those courses. From T level 8, communicate results of work to others. This is obvious. This is a translation course, and this outcome under value is under values. Any comment on this, please? Dr. Munassar, maybe there are some colleagues who contribute to the discussion through writing, but I cannot go to the writing. So please, if you can
sure.
have a
You
look.
say it's vague.
Okay.
Dr. Sarwat said it's a vague statement. And also I agree with here, it's communicate results. Communicate results in translation.
Yeah, what kind of results? How they should be communicated? Who are others? The next one, we have MLMS. This is, I think, modern language, modern literary movements course. Analyze the critical terms of English literature through different modes of communication. This comes under V. What do you think?
Yes, doctor, can I?
Yes,
okay, doctor, since we have the verb analyze, I think this outcome should be under skills.
Right. Yes,
not values.
Yes, thank you. For syntax course, level 8, students can identify the categories of the English words. Those who teach syntax, please, can you help us in explaining this outcome? We are talking about a level 8 course. And
can I say something? I don't teach syntax, but I would like to make a comment on that here.
Yes, brother.
Identify, the word identify, it sounds more like knowledge than skills, perhaps.
Yeah, this is one thing. Okay, what do you think? What are the categories of English words?
someone else.
What do you think the writer of this statement means by categories of English words? Is it word class, do you think?
No, not sentence. Syntax all has to do with sentence, not exactly words. It sounds like morphology.
Okay. And when we read these categories of the English words, I think we think of nouns, that the students are able to categorize words into nouns, verbs, adjectives. This is what I understand from this statement.
Which is
part of speech, maybe?
Yeah, it seems it's part of speech. But can we write this statement for a level 8 student? Or this should be in the grammar of level 1?
Assalamu alaikum, Doctor.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Okay, I wrote this actually sentence. And when we talk about categories, we have different types of categories. We talk about lexical categories and functional categories.
Great.
It's not about verbs, nouns, adjectives. We have functional categories like determiners and other more advanced categories students cannot study at earlier levels.
Okay.
Maybe if you add, Dr., the adjective, the one you mentioned, Dr. Ahmed.
Yeah.
Okay. You said lexical. What do you say, Doctor?
Functional categories.
Yes.
Functional, and the other one?
Lexical.
Lexical categories.
Lexical.
I think it should be the lexical categories.
Yeah, I think, yeah, if you add this, Dr. Ahmed, this is going to demystify the statement.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for the clarification, Dr. Ahmed.
No problem at all.
Jazakallah khair. Next one. It is a phonology course. Act responsibly in personal and professional relationships. And this is a value. Okay. Yes, this is fine, I think, but we may need to relate this statement to the course somehow so that the reader finds it meaningful in this context. Okay, for the short story, explain the distinguishing principles and aspects of the English story. This is a skill. What do you think? Is it a skill?
Explain that distinguishing.
Where should it go?
Doctor, I think it should go to, okay, it should be under knowledge domain, maybe?
Right, yes. Technology.
Because of the
yeah,
because
verb
of the
explain. Right,
explain.
Dr. Thank you so
Yes.
much. Technology in language learning, work effectively in groups and construct or defend arguments in support of the use of technology in language learning or in opposition to particular propositions. This is a skill outcome. Where do you think this one should go?
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Ahlan, Doctor.
Thank you, Dr. Abdul. I think it should go under values.
Thank you, Dr. Basim. I think so as well.
And it's too lengthy also.
Yeah,
it's too long.
That's it. That's it. Yes. So it should go under values, and we should try to minimize it and make it more concise. For example, the end of this statement says, in support of the use of technology in language learning or in opposition to particular propositions. So since we have mentioned arguments, we can say arguments about the use of technology. I think that might be sufficient. Then translation 1 course, discuss the way of translating short sentences and proverbs. Focus on meaning rather than letter. I could not understand this. This is a translation 1, by the way, outcome, and it comes under knowledge. The verb is okay, but the whole semantics of the sentence was quite difficult to grasp. I don't know whether you agree with me or not.
Yes, colleagues agree with you on the chat box.
Okay. Yeah, discuss the way.
Doctor, Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam, Dr. Mahsen.
Doctor, tech in LL, work effectively in groups and construct the different arguments. I think like we agreed on values, right? But effectively working in groups is also a kind of skill, right?
No, here we are talking about, as when I mentioned earlier, the last domain, Dr. Mohsen, I talked about values, autonomy, and responsibility. So
yeah, the
if we
Var,
think,
right?
yes,
remember.
yeah, if we think of the three together, I think this is going to fit under this VAR category, if we can.
Right.
So yeah, when the students start working in groups, since we have the word, the phrase in groups here, and they are taking the discussion beyond the university level by evaluating. So I know that there could be some kind of overlapping for sure here with the level,
Okay,
but since we have in groups,
yeah. Thank you.
Yes.
I got
so
it. I got it.
You're welcome. For the translation, then I think this needs to be revised because it's quite challenging to understand.
Doctor, sorry.
Well, yes.
Doctor, what do you think? Can we use the verb to explain the way instead of discuss?
Yeah. Okay.
What do you think about it?
Yeah, this can be fine, but even the word discuss, I think, can also be okay. But I think the structure of the sentence, doctor, also requires some amendment.
Okay.
So, yeah, the way of translating, and also it's not one way. It might need to be plural here, and also focus on meaning rather than letter. I don't know what the writer means by focus on meaning rather than letter.
Maybe
Doctor,
yes.
Yes,
it's to focus. Yeah, it means to focus on the whole meaning. Translate for example, the text by its meaning, and not the literal translation, word by word.
Thank you.
I think that's what it means.
Thank you for helping us understand this. So I think if this is what the writer means by this, this has to be improved. Thank you so much. Okay, then coming to another example. In one of the courses, and I'd like you to help me in guessing what this course is, please. I found these skills in this course. The skills of this course are to think critically and analytically, to use standard and academic English, to pass sound judgment after reading some information, to make use of information from primary and secondary sources in support of a valid thesis and argument. I think if any one of you can guess which course is this, Dr. Munassar is going to reward him or her.
Doctor, I think it's research methodology.
The reward will be next week off.
Speech workshop.
Thank you, Dr. Hassan. Yes, Dr. Fadi said, which course, Dr. Hassan? Dr. Fadi, you said?
I think research methodology.
Research methodology, okay. Any other guess?
I think.
Dr. Hala said morphology.
Reading 4, I think. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. So Dr. Hala said morphology. Dr. Adil says reading 4. So this is reading 4. So what do you think? What's your comment? Do you think there is anything here in these skills related to morphology? In skills here?
Morphology or reading 4?
Reading 4, I think.
No, actually, this is a morphology course, by the way.
Oh, morphology. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So I think I would invite and recommend my colleagues in the morphology course to revise this. And by the way, I'd like here also to make a friendly recommendation that course specifications should be written collaboratively. And we should look closely to the course specification, help each other in evaluating the outcomes. They should not only be written by a single person. We need collective work in writing and approving course specifications. So all majors share fundamental educational values. So we have seen that when we come to values, especially the last one, which is not only values, but as I said, it is values, autonomy, and responsibility. We will find that there are usually some generic statements, but we should work hard to localize them to make them connected to the specific courses. Okay, let me share with you a course that I consider it as an example. I may not claim that this is a perfect example. I may also need your comments here, but this is not a BA course, but an MA level course. This is advanced academic writing course. I tried to write the course learning outcomes of this course. These are the ones at the knowledge level and understanding. You can have a look at them. Articulate clearly and accurately the close connection between thinking, reading, and writing. critically outline the logic of summarizing, paraphrasing, and quoting sources, demonstrate critical knowledge and understanding of the steps of critical reading and critique writing, differentiate insightfully between explanatory synthesis and argument synthesis, explain academic writing as a recursive process with illustrative examples. So I'm sorry I'm sharing this example from MA level, but I have not recently written the learning outcomes of a BA course, but I have shared this. I might claim that I have tried to, to stick to the requirements, but at the end, it might not be that perfect work. At the skills level, give a presentation that reflects on the relationship between thinking, reading, and writing based on students' personal experience. Implement the knowledge of summarizing, paraphrasing, and quoting in taking notes from applied linguistics, various academic sources. Write a critique essay of a published article based on critical reading. Compose an essay that illustrates the dynamics of explanatory and argument synthesis. Appraise critically the credibility of academic sources in terms of authority, currency, relevance, audience, and bias. Then for the Var level, which I have coined, demonstrate integrity when performing academic writing tasks and assignments, like, for example, originality, referring to original course, crediting original courses, sources. Initiate their own opportunities for professional development in advanced academic writing, for example, by joining SIGs, that is special interest groups, online training courses, attending academic events, so ODTSL as an example. Monitor their learning and performance autonomously by identifying their needs, setting personal learning goals, applying appropriate learning strategies, evaluating their outcomes of learning with relation to this specific course. Undertake leadership roles in curricular and extracurricular activities, like, for example, by creating teams, leading teamwork, improving team spirit. When they do discussion on, in the class about this course, I should have made this one more contextualized. Employ the knowledge and skills students gain from the course in diagnosing, because it's advanced academic writing course, so they can apply the knowledge and skills they have gained from the course in diagnosing and proposing solutions to academic writing problems encountered in local educational institutions. Okay, then moving to topics, and this is another part which is beyond the learning outcomes. I have also noticed that in the course specification, please have a look at the list of topics here. They are the topics of a course. They represent the course content. So can you guess which course is this, please?
Doctor, I think writing one, maybe.
No.
Okay, this is one.
Writing two.
Writing two.
Writing two. Writing two.
Okay, thank you.
No, I think it's writing one.
Okay,
No,
great.
it's writing two.
Okay, so
Well,
it seems
I would like to.
It's a writing
Yes.
course, I think. Maybe
Writing,
we all
yes,
agree
writing
that
one.
it's a writing course.
Writing one.
Yes, writing one. Yes, step. What's the name? I can
Okay,
remember. Keep writing, perhaps.
so it's at the end, it's a writing course, and most probably it's a writing one course. But what do you think about writing the topics? When we write topics of a course, should this be the way of writing the course topics? If an outsider looks at this list of topics, okay, do you think he or she will be guided to what this course is?
I have a suggestion here. I would like to add here.
When it comes to, yes,
right, yes. Well, here are the titles. We can see the titles of the chapters. They are not exactly topics. For example, look at the first one, chapter 1, who are you? It means introducing oneself. It can be a topic. Self-introduction, introducing oneself. What describes your family? A topic can be describing families, family members, something like that. These sound like topics. They're titles, exactly. From
they are titles of units. Thank you, Adil.
That's it.
So what we need to do is to change them into academic topics. What exactly do we teach our students when we teach them this writing course? We don't teach them who are you, what describes your family, who is a good friend, and so on. But we have to look into the academic topics guided by the course learning outcomes and include them in the list of topics here. Then I have also noticed that when we write the course description, the main objective and outcomes, sometimes we confuse writing those three terms. So for course description, we need to give a brief introduction about what this course is all about, mentioning major topics of the course. Then when we talk about main objective, and I don't know here, the NCAA puts it as a title, the main objective of the course. So I think we have to write only one main objective of this course, because this is what NCAA asks for. The word objective is singular. So what's the major objective of the course? And when we write objectives, we have to write them from the perspective of the writer. I have noticed that some of our colleagues, when they wrote the objectives of some courses, they wrote them like outcomes. When we write the objectives of the English program, for example, what we want our students, what we want this course to do for our students. So we are writing it from our own perspective as writers or policymakers in the educational field or in this specific program. They should be different from outcomes, because outcomes are written from students' perspective, but objectives are written from the writer's perspective, the program's perspective. And then outcomes, we know how they are written, and we have discussed this, For example, these are, I think, good examples of course description. This course is designed to enhance listening and speaking skills of the students. The content of this course taught in group and language lab settings focuses on communication skills. So this is a good introduction to the course. For the next one, this is a good example of a main objective: to consolidate students' listening and speaking skills acquired in the previous level. This is good here. But look at this example here of course main objectives. Yes.
Victor,
Fadal.
back to the slide before.
Yes.
So the topic should not be the title of the chapter, right? No, before one, before it.
Yes, I mean this one. It should not be the
sure.
title of the chapter, because it does not tell us about the knowledge that we are providing our students in this course or the skills. So, I mean, the academic terminologies should be used here rather than these titles.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Okay. For these course main objectives, see here, upon completion of this course, students are expected to be able to distinguish, describe, transcribe, distinguish, explain, illustrate, and identify. What do you think? What are these?
Doctor, this is a phonology course.
Yeah, but what are these, Dr. Fadi, here? Distinguish between phonetics, describe, transcribe. Are they different from outcomes? Or they look like outcomes? What do you think? Yeah, they are written as outcomes, and I think they should be written from our perspective, what we expect this course, how this course is expected to help the students. Okay, for example, the main objective of this course is to provide the students with this or that, to familiarize the students, to introduce the students to this and that. They are written from our perspective as program planners or course planners. But then but if they are written as outcomes, we see no difference between them. We are repeating ourselves. So you will find some of them are written in the outcome. So we should try to change the perspective when we write the objectives. Again, see this example. I don't know which course is this, but we may guess. Course main objective. By the end of the course, the learners will be able to reinforce students' knowledge. The learners will be able to introduce students to a variety of forms. The learners will be able to provide students. The learners will be able to promote students' knowledge of poets and their works in their cultural and historical context. So you have noticed the problem, I guess. So we have to change or to think carefully when we write the objectives. I think you noticed the problem here. Is that clear? It's semantically, again, is not appropriate. So we may, or the writers of this course might delete by the end of the course, the learners will be able to, because these are outcomes. So please delete this line. And you can keep what you have written there, course main objectives, to reinforce students' knowledge of the literature. This is fine. To introduce students a very good way of writing the objectives. Although, as I mentioned, it is written main objective, singular. So we should be brief here, unless it is a typo. I don't know whether but in the course specification document, it says main objective. Okay, I think.
So it should be only one objective, Dr. Abdul Wahid, or
if this is the title, the course main objective, I think unless it is a typo and it should be objectives. So this is quite confusing. So we may have main objective of the course, or if it is objectives, then we should write them from our perspective as planners. And here, our colleagues who wrote this course specification, they should delete this line. By the end of the course, the learners will be able to, because these are outcomes, not objectives. The list is outcomes, sorry, objectives. This is fine, but that line should be deleted. Okay, as a final
So,
slide.
Doctor,
Yes.
I'm so sorry, Doctor. So the problem with the phonology course was with the line, that line only.
No, with the phonology course, the whole list, because these are outcomes, Doctor. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
They are not objectives, but if you look here, we have good objectives to reinforce students' knowledge. This is fine. They are written from our own perspective, how we see this course, to introduce the students to a variety. This is a good way of writing the objectives. Yes.
Assalamu Doctor.
Yes, Doctor.
Actually, this is by me, I'm teaching poetry. So like what I have to remove, just can you please tell me?
Just remove by the end of the course, the learners will be able. Because if you read Dr. Hassan Mohsen, if you read the whole, just read it. By the end of the course, the learners will be able to reinforce students' knowledge.
It's semantically wrong.
That's the point. Just remove that line and things will be fine, inshallah.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
So, Doctor, I'm so sorry again. It could be a silly question, but what's the difference between objectives and outcomes?
Objectives are written from our own perspective. What we expect we expect this course is to help the students. It's going to.
I think it is more personalized, right, Doctor?
Yes, but it is written from our own perspective as curriculum writers or course specification writers. We think this course is reinforcing the students'
I think
knowledge.
it's basically the theme, right?
The
theme is objectives, right?
The theme is objectives. Sorry, I didn't get your point, Dr. Mohsen.
I mean the essence,
okay. Core. Yeah, it's objectives. What we as writers aim by writing this course, to reinforce the students' knowledge, to introduce the students to a variety of forms and so on. This is okay. But Dr. Fadi, when we write outcomes, we write what we expect the students to do by the end of the course. Like what you did here when you wrote these from 1 to 7, these are outcomes. The students will be able to distinguish between, to describe. So you can say here, or you can say by the end of the course, the students are expected to then list the outcomes expected. So these are outcomes. But yes, but
excuse me, Dr. Abdul Wahid.
Yes, Dr. Muhammad.
Can we say now, if we just say to enable students to distinguish, now it will be an objective.
You are right, Doctor. Yes, thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Although we might be very detailed, but if we are able to make them generic, since we are talking about the main objectives, that's going to be perfect.
Okay,
should we
generic system? Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Just want to jump in here. Shouldn't we make objectives in the higher order of thinking skills if it's the main objective of the course?
Yeah, that's right, Hassan. Yes, they have to be so.
So some of these illustrate, or let's say, distinguish, that could be evaluate. That's higher level, but describe is not.
But again, the perspective, Hassan, is, I mean, these are outcomes. When you just read the list of these verbs, they will remind you of the students' outcomes, expected competencies to be achieved and realized by the students, rather than what we as writers of this document aim this course to contribute to the whole program.
It's also, but it's a singular, Doctor. The course main objective in the form.
In the
So
form,
it
it's
should not-
objective. Yes, singular.
Yes, it's so singular. So probably it's one objective, the general objective of the course.
It seems so. I mean,
Yeah.
we may need to check with NCAA whether they mean just we should write one main objective of the whole course, just like the course description where we provide a general description of what the course is all about.
And also when you write the learning outcomes, just always remember this phrase. By the end of the course, students will be able to,
yeah,
and
or
whatever you
expected to.
write, that's could be a learning outcomes.
Yeah, this is going to lead us to the verb immediately. That's right. Thank you, Doctor. Okay, to conclude.
Dr. Abraf, Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
So do you suggest that in this case, we can do it in 2 or 3 sentences instead of a list of verbs and separate objectives? That is the general objective of the course. Is it?
Yeah, I think maybe this is what NCAA wants us to do, because it is mentioned as a singular noun, the main objective. So we can have it one generic statement which summarizes the main objective of this course.
Yeah, I think 2 or 3 sentences can be enough in this case.
It could be, yeah. And since it is we can make it as 2 or 3 sentences where we show the statement of the objective rather than having one single sentence. I think that's also possible.
Yes. One thing I'd like to add, Doctor, I'd like to add, instead of bulleted points, I think a paragraph is better.
Yeah, I think these 2 sections, that is the course description and course objective, a paragraph will do. I agree with you, brother.
It looks better.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, coming to the last point. Yes, Fadal, Doctor.
No, just to be concise.
We have
as much as we can.
We need to be in this specific part. We have to be. Thank you, Doctor. For the last point, this is an excerpt from the reviewers of our program, and I think here we have a serious problem, which we have in almost in most of the courses. See here, it says, and we have to read this part carefully. It says, I mean, this slide. As outlined in the old and the updated course specifications, assessment methods of program courses include a variety of direct assessment methodologies, such as quizzes. This is what we write in the course specification. This is how we are going to assess our courses: by quizzes, by exams, by reflective assignments, by research papers, though this is quite ambitious at the undergrad level, student presentation. However, and this is the problem, the balance of assessment is still towards exams and quizzes. They have looked at what we practically do. We only just do quizzes and exams, but the things that we mentioned, like reflective assignments, research papers or tasks or whatsoever, we might change the students' presentations. I think maybe we don't do this. In reviewing the program, attention should be paid to continuing diversification of assessment methods. This is a recommendation, particularly those which take the students out of the classroom and involve engagement with context of language use, such as workplaces. I know this is very challenging, but at least this is a suggestion. And based on this observation, they have put this recommendation. And you know, when reviewers write a recommendation, it means there is a serious issue. So they have said attention should be paid to diversifying assessment methods beyond exams and questionnaires. That is the direct and indirect methods, particularly those which take the students out of the classroom. These are the suggestions they are making, and involve gathering and evaluating language samples in context of use. If we will do this, that's going to be great, both online and offline, such as workplaces. Related to this, in terms of grade distribution of all program courses, there is a fixed distribution of grades. Again, this is a problem. There is a fixed distribution of grades that allows little freedom for assigning grades to requirements other than exams and quizzes. For example, the final exam, this is what we are practicing. The final exam is worth 50. There should be 2 midterm exams, each of which worth 20%. Surprisingly, in many courses, the remaining 10% is also given to short quizzes. This has encouraged instructors to not stick to the assessment plan incorporated in course specification. This is a final note about assessment, and I think I invite myself and my colleagues here to, while writing the course assessment methods, we have to diversify the assessment methods and try to implement them. We have to be practical. We have to write what we can implement, and we should diversify the different methods, not only quizzes, exams, and tests. So this is a recommendation, and I think it has to be taken seriously into consideration. That's all. Thank you so much to everyone for your contribution to this discussion. I've really enjoyed this with you all. Thanks a lot. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. If you have any questions or final comments, you are all.
Thank you, Dr. Abdul Wahid. That's really informative and well done presentation and engaging with authentic examples from the field. Thank you so much on behalf of my colleagues. So now we will open the floor for colleagues to ask questions and any suggestions or any comments or any questions.
Yeah, I'd like to just have a quick one.
Okay.
Okay, so in regards to recommendation 15, we already have an action plan in place, and it was accepted by NCAA that at least one practical assessment related to language use in the translation, linguistics, and applied linguistics courses offered in the 3rd and 4th years of the program will be implemented. So that's kind of what they were talking about in regards to recommendation 15. And you touched upon adding a practical assessment. So I just wanted to notate that for anyone who's developing the course specifications.
Yes.
Thank you,
Open the
Hassan.
floor, all colleagues, to choose the right assessment or way of assessment to evaluate the course. So colleagues who write the course specification, they have the freedom to verify the assessment based on the nature of the course, except the 50. The 50% will be for the final exam, but the other 50 for the coursework could be for one midterm exam, final paper or presentation or a project or quizzes.
Yes, and we may also have another meeting, Dr. Murassar, where we can brainstorm the different, not only assessment methods, but also teaching methods. And I think if all colleagues contribute to such brainstorming, we will come with a very long list of different teaching methods, because we normally write, for example, lecture, discussion, lecture, and most of what we write in teaching as strategies are lecturing. I think we have to think of diversified types of both teaching strategies as well as assessment methods. And if we brainstorm this, and there are so many, I mean, there are many colleagues who are competent in this. Yeah.
Doctor, fantastic, doctor. Yes, lecture is the word I hate, actually. I can't stand, actually, yes. You raised a very good point.
Thank you.
Yes, I just can't stand lecturing, by the way. I added some like guided discovery, and you see, one of them is I mentioned in the specification.
We may need to have a workshop where if we have one of our colleagues who are experts in teaching methods or assessment methods to, train us on these.
It's a good idea. It's a very good idea indeed. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Dr. Fadi, you have a question?
Yes, Doctor.
Good.
Dr. Abdul Wahid, thank you very much for your wonderful presentation, which I personally got benefited from it a lot. Doctor, I just have one question about the action verbs. The question is, can we use the same action verb in all the 3 domains? For example, the verb explain, analyze, demonstrate. Can we use the same action verb in the three domains?
No,
knowledge.
I think this might go against the differences between the domains, since knowledge level has its own specific list of verbs, and when we go to the skills level, we have to be. It should be a higher order thinking skill. So I think there should not be overlapping. And what I have seen, there are a lot of overlapping, especially when we search the internet for the verbs. We see a lot of overlapping, which should not take place. And by the way, this taxonomy of Bloom's,
yes, I wanted to say
of
that.
Bloom has been critiqued also since it looks at domains of learning as you can say discrete domains, which might go against how against the dynamics of the brain and how it works actually, since it works integratively rather. But still, they are very useful. So I would recommend that we should not have this kind of overlap, since we are talking about different domains. So the verbs, I think, should be different. This is what I think.
So doctor, we must refer to Bloom's taxonomy, right?
We can use it as a guiding model in selecting verbs. It helps for sure.
So doctor, we can share this taxonomy with other colleagues, I mean in the groups, so it could be beneficial for them, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And by the way, there are different versions of it. And I have also seen, it's not, again, a recent one, but one which is Bloom's taxonomy for technological learning, for working with technology. A very, impressive list of verbs, which can help only in courses like technology course, and they might help in IT skills that we might need to improve in our students. So we might incorporate some of them, especially in the technology and language learning course.
Got it. Thank you very much, doctor.
We have one chapter in our course. I'll just share it here with the group about this Bloom taxonomy, but unfortunately, colleagues said that we cannot cover it this semester because we have design and materials for the course, technology and language learning. We could not find a textbook. So with the help of my colleagues who teach the course, we designed this one. And one thing about Bloom taxonomy, value is not there. So it comes to cognitive domain, which is the knowledge domain.
Yes.
And then the second one is affective, which is the emotions and beliefs and
attitudes. Yes.
Attitudes.
Yeah.
And the third one is a psychometer or the scales one.
Yeah. So this is, I think, the shortcoming of Bloom's, because, I think it was written maybe in 65 or 56. And, the trends now, especially when we talk about the expectations of the Saudi Vision 2030, is to involve the students or to prepare the students or train them to be active citizens in the future when they join the job and the profession. So this perspective was not reflected clearly in Bloom's taxonomy. That's why we have those the Var level, let's say, call it. So the values, the autonomy and the responsibility, which were not very much clear there in the Bloom's taxonomy. They have the affective, as you mentioned. Yes, the affective domain.
Okay, thank you very much, doctor. Thank you.
Thank you everyone. يمكن يكفي يا دكتور منصر ولا ايش رايك؟
Open the floor if any more questions come. Any questions؟ والله تعبناك يا دكتور. الله يعطيك العافية.
Thank you. جزاكم الله خير.
No more questions, then we conclude. Inshallah, we will have another presentation. We'll see. Inshallah, Dr. Mziqa will do another presentation. We'll see with her what time is appropriate and what topic.
Inshallah. Well, looking forward to attending her.
One thing also, the program specification for the course writers. You need that one, right? So we need to finalize it and send it tomorrow to you, so you can connect the program learning outcomes with the course specification outcomes, because they are connected, and you have to write that in the course specification. Some courses
this is very important, to have one whole structure, how parts relate to the whole. It's through this alignment.
Exactly. And if you need extension for the deadline, because some of colleagues like traveling nowadays, we can extend the deadline for submission of the course specification one more week. So not next Sunday. I mean, we could extend it until Thursday, the Yom al-Khamis. So take your time. That means take your time, no rush, because we need the quality work more than, because now when we read these learning outcomes and we have this presentation, we think like sometimes one colleague did it and it affects everybody. So please collaborate, as Dr. Abdul Wahid mentioned, with each other, and we sign you in groups. So send your course specification to your group and let them revise it. Send it to someone else, even not from the group, to revise it, to look at it, to comment on it. So at the end, you will have a better job when you have more than one brain that construct the work.
Dr. Nasser, do we have the updated version of PLOs?
Not yet. We need to finalize it. We have that meeting in the last on what day was it? On Wednesday or Thursday?
It was on Wednesday. Unfortunately, I couldn't attend this meeting.
Yeah, so
that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, many comments. We need to revise a little bit and then send it the final version to you.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, otherwise we conclude our meeting. Thank you so much again for Dr. Abdul Wahid and for your colleagues to come and share your experience. Thank you so much. And I will see you, inshallah, in our next presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Munassar, and thanks to all my colleagues who have contributed to this talk and to this discussion. I really thank everyone for that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Inshallah, we will upload the recording in our YouTube channel and we will share it with all colleagues.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
إذن في أمان الله والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.